Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you on a Tuesday, Christmas Eve. A little bit different day, a little bit different time, but hey, the holidays are the holidays. As always, I'm joined by Andrew Combo Sal to discuss the greatest and latest in the NBA. Combo, great to see you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. A lot going on in the NBA. Some good games tomorrow. And the Knicks are playing really well.
There are some good games, but I tell you, there's a missing team that's not playing at Christmas. It's a crime.
OKC?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to our last conversation and how the NBA is marketing its young stars.
You know, I asked that question because to me, it's like, what about the marketing? Is that really what's not, what's maybe the ratings are depressed and that kind of thing? And well, certainly not having one of the more exciting, young, and one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the conference, not playing on Christmas is just insane. Like, even if it's less of a marketing thing, it's just a scheduling thing. Like, they would get more ratings than I imagine from having a really good game on that day. At some point, you got to wonder. They played very well last year. We know SGA is SGA. So what I can't picture what their mind was going through, like thinking, okay, we're getting the schedule done for next year. We got to pick the teams they're going to play. It's weird. I kind of let's look at the games real quick and see who's playing tomorrow, because I'm kind of curious how that all went down. So
are you thinking that they're thinking that the casual fan won't tune in to an OKC game because it's a smaller market and SGA, as great as he is as a basketball player, is not a household name yet? But
right. And whose fault is that? Why is SGA not a household name?
To the contrary to that, this could start to build him up to be a household name, right?
Right. Okay, yeah. And if you look at it from that context, which is a great point, because they are looking – we don't know exactly when they set the schedule. It's sometime earlier in the year, right? So it could have been before we saw what happened in the playoffs. But, if you look at this, okay, so you have the Knicks, you have Philly, you have the Lakers, you have Golden State. So you have like some of the bigger market teams, Boston. They threw Minnesota in there, who had gone deep in the playoffs. They had Dallas got the finals, okay, and then they throw Denver with Jokic and Phoenix. So Phoenix, KD. So they're also doing a mix of like market and then star power. But I think the other big criticism I'm seeing, which I think might be legit, is that they're sort of hanging on to Steph, KD, and LeBron a little bit too long and too much.
Yeah, the other side of the coin of that is how much longer will Steph and LeBron play, and I do think people want to see them play against each other another Christmas Day. So yeah. I do see it for both boys, but that would have been nice. And then maybe Cleveland, OKC would have been nice as well, right? Like a little bit of a mix. I mean, nobody knew the Sixers would be this bad. So, I mean, They signed PG8 in the offseason. Nobody thought they'd be this bad. So I could see why they had them against the Celtics here.
Wait, did he change his number to 8?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I was watching the game earlier. I didn't even see. Okay. So we're going to talk about that game, by the way, a little bit in a minute, because that was insanity. I'm actually editing a video right now for later on today where we really.
What was insane about it?
Well, you had Andre Drummond ejected, but then that was not only was that rescinded, but then they gave the tech to Wemby for flopping, which was good. Like, get it right, isn't that the point? But it still felt like people were mad even anyway. But in my mind, it's like, if you get the call right, it might take an extra minute or 2 or 3 or whatever. But a lot of times fans, they get whipped up. The players, anxiety gets whipped up, and then it's hard to tamp that back down later.
Yeah, that is interesting. You're never going to have all the fans happy, but do you want to even have the whole replay thing where the eye test doesn't catch something, but the film catches something else, and then you go back to it? Is that good for the NBA? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
If I was a coach on the sideline and we saw Nick Nurse going crazy, we'll go through it in a second. I have the clips. And then they come to you and say, you know what, we reviewed it and we realized it's a flop instead. Like, I'd be like, great. I really would get it back on the floor, whatever. And then you got to let that one go. And obviously they didn't, minutes and minutes later, the Embiid thing clearly connected to all of this in the same ref. So should we go through it? Should we go through some of the clips? Because then maybe not everyone saw it last night. Let's do that. But also, yes. And hey, Bron, good to see you, everyone in the comments. And don't forget, if you want your question answered, the best way to do that is on the YouTube side via Super Chat. We really appreciate it. Helps us keep the show going. And then Bangs wants to know if I saw one of the one-legged threes that Trae Young made, but I'm going to have to write this down because I'm getting a video prepared for this week soon about the one-legged three because it's a phenomenon, wouldn't you say, at this point, Combo?
Yeah, it's going to be the new step back. You're going to see more and more of it.
Trae Young, 2 one-legged threes on 12, 23, 24.
Who said we have to shoot jumpers off 2 feet? Who said that?
Yeah,
who made that up?
No, especially from that distance, and it looks, and I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Last time I did talk to Trae Young a few years ago, but did we talk about that? We might have, but I know I talked about the nutmegging he was doing with him and how you practice that. Remember, he doesn't really do it as much anymore, but he was doing it as a thing.
Do you really practice that? I think that's something you just apply to a game and you get better and better at it. It's a feel thing.
I guess, but I don't know. In my mind, everything needs to be practiced. Like if you're going to execute something. So, and listen, I get it. There are shots that people make that they've never practiced. It's like rooted in some other kind of things that they worked on. I get it. I
don't know. Like growing up in New York City, the whole and one era, right? And everybody was doing things like that. I think people got really good at that stuff without practicing it. They would just go out to the parks and just throw it against their defenders through their defenders' legs.
Well, I mean, I guess the context could also be like, a push dribble. You push it out in front and you run after it, right? So you're doing that and you're probably working on that to some degree. So is it that much different to sort of just aim it between the legs, and when you get a chance, you do it? So that's probably what it is. I don't know. I at that point, if you get really good at that, I would probably want to have some guys get out there. Hey, get in the stance with your feet wide and let me work on this because obviously.
The funny thing about that is it was being done so much in New York. Defensive players didn't even want to get in stance anymore. And then you could just go right by. They would put their feet real close. You could just go right by.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
and it was happening enough in the NBA where people were getting upset too. And, probably maybe wanted to give them a hard foul or hard screen too to let them know not to do that. But either way, it's actually sometimes you go on the sideline, it might actually be the best way to do it. The thing is, if I go through nutmeg somebody through the legs and I run around him, I can't go out of bounds and come back in and be the first to touch the ball. So that's one of those interesting things. So,
definitely.
All right, here we go. So let's share some of this because we got to go through this. Can you see this? Yes, are we all? Yeah, we're full screen here. Okay, so let's look at the first play because this was at the beginning where we have, Drummond push him down. And the problem with this is that it was a dead ball foul. The guy inbounding the ball did not quite have that ball in his hands. It's not a foul. It's a technical foul when you do that. Now, Drummond is obviously mad. He's got how many more pounds does he have on Wemby? He's got to have 60 pounds on him, right? Easy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's watch this replay, though, and see what we think. What do you think? Is that a foul?
No.
So both hands on him. There is pressure. He does start to push him, right? Now, Wemby, look what Wemby is doing. You see how he gets back on his heels? His hands are up. He's like, I'm not doing anything. So it's an interesting question, right? Because Wemby's on offense, and you can't push somebody down. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, but he really didn't push him down.
What do you think he did then?
I think Wemby flopped. I mean, you're allowed to see where you're allowed to locate the player. Even on a box out, you're taught to see where they are with your hand, turn, box out. I know nobody boxes out anymore, but I think it's the same kind of thing.
I don't think a box out the same as dead ball, inbounding anyway.
I don't think this is not a foul to me.
So there's a push here, right? There is a push, right? This is like the push part, right? Now, should Wemby have just taken a step backwards?
Is it a push if his hands aren't extended?
Yeah, because he's leaning in, the whole body is going through him. So this would probably be this falls under the definition of illegal contact. And I have to say, and so what? So it's a foul, whatever. This was not the biggest issue. It gets worse later, but what Wemby is doing is sort of allowing it to happen, and the flop aspect would be because any normal person would just take a step backwards and not get back on their heels.
Or what if Wemby just goes into him?
Yeah, I have a feeling if I go through some games, and maybe there's some Spurs fans out there, I might see this happen before. Some fouls that he has drawn in a similar manner. He puts his hands up, and I'm just going to like lean back on my heels and then see what happens, right? Like this, because it's clear that Wemby is trying to draw the foul, but I just think that there's no advantage gained by what Drummond is doing. This is kind of just dumb in my mind, what Drummond is doing. It's dumb. Like, I think what Drummond's worried about is they're going to lob it up over his head and dunk it on him, right? You know, if Wemby's standing on the front of the basket there, that's always a fear, right? Because he's so tall that he's just going to throw it up, and he wants to kind of get him out of that position so he's not so close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a good place for the defense to be with Wemby right under the rim. I think that's part of it.
So if I'm Drummond, I don't think I can go back far enough to, can I? Let's see here. If I'm Drummond, I'm sprinting that spot as early as I can so that he can't get there. And then at that point, Wemby's not going to push him out of the way. At that, he can hold his ground, then that won't have to worry about it. But look, he gets his, the right elbow up here, and there's a lean into him, whatever. So I just think this is kind of like, this is just not a smart play by Drummond in any way what he's doing. And, if they were going to challenge this, the refs would have to uphold it. Like, it's enough illegal contact by the defender. You have to call it. So whatever. All right.
Okay.
So tensions are high, right? So now we come back. It's the next play, right, on the inbounds. And here, remember, a foul when it's a dead ball is a technical foul, right? It's not a regular foul. So this is interesting because you have to figure out. Let's just watch it real quick, and you'll see what happens. Okay, so Wemby goes to the ground. Now, there's two other refs out there, right? And this is the guy down here, the slot, who's got the best view of all of this, right? He's not doing anything. He's just looking, staring at whatever. He's not whatever. Now, is it clear that this referee has a best view of this play?
Which one?
On the baseline, the woman?
I think they all have a great view, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she's got the best view because there's a player here, and then he's here, and Embiid's behind him a little bit. I think this is right here, the trail. Now, look what's going on here. I didn't even notice this. The referee is making a gesture, but what is he? Oh, that's fascinating. I'm going to have to ask my Chip about this.
What do you do?
Look at the slot rep down here at the bottom. Does he look a little bit frustrated?
Oh, like what is he doing?
Yeah, there's a gesture there. That's fascinating. So this is interesting. Like,
so maybe the ref is like, I don't even want to call this, but you're making me call this.
Yeah, or there's like this, like, so let's look what's going on here. So there's a little jostling. It's the same thing again, right? Like, oh, they're back at it again. Let's clean this up. I'm wondering if he's gesturing and then looking at the ref on the baseline to say, like, you got to call that one. Call it. Clean it up now as a regular foul. But again, if she called it now, it would be a tech because Chris Paul doesn't have the ball. So if here's, okay, this movement here appears to be something, right? It would be some foul. You can see the ball still in the ref's hands, not in Chris Paul's hands. So what does she do? She feels like it's a foul, and that's another tech, and he's ejected, right? That's not even a question, right? Like, it's not even like a, if it was a foul, it was a dead ball foul, another tech, and did the same thing. Oh my, here we go. Now, what do we think about this call, this foul, this potential foul? What do we, or what is going on here? What do you think?
Nah, not a foul.
Not a foul, right? Okay, now this one's a good argument for not a foul. Now, does he kind of grab? He grabs the bottom of his shorts.
Okay, but look, Coach Nick, if we call every foul, look what's happening to the left over there. Like, there's two hands on him, just like the Drummond thing last play. You know what I mean? And in the playoffs, let's say you're guarding Steph Curry, you're gonna probably be pushing him at some point, right? When he's playing off the ball. So I mean, by the book, some of these could be fouls, right?
Well, what's happening on the side is more like impeding of progress and off the ball, away from the ball, which is a little bit, there's degrees of subtlety here that you have to take into account as well. And I get it. We can't call everything. So, but let's look. So, like, what's going on here? So he kind of grabs him by the hamstring, or not grab him, but he's making contact there. And I think at that point, Wemby just goes down. I don't know. I'd like the other angles we have. I think we have plenty of other angles. This is a good one. I was thinking that maybe Drummond stepped backwards. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that his foot here would step backwards, and then Wemby would get his foot caught.
Can we go ahead. Keep going.
But that's not what happened either. And then let me just see here. I was wondering if maybe the left arm did enough that kind of dislodged or made him whatever. I mean, there's something there. Wemby's like, he's touching my hamstring. And then he goes, but then he lifts his feet, he's like ready to go, and just dragged the left foot, and then that's it. He goes down.
Coach Nick, why? Like, go rewind. So why aren't you were saying the Drummond thing's a foul. Why isn't this a foul on Kelly Oubre and Caleb Martin too?
Well, Johnson's not going anywhere. So, if Johnson starts to try and go somewhere and Oubre's got his hands on him and he's not being able to go, yeah, they call the foul.
So wait. So if Wemby just stayed there on the last Drummond one, it wouldn't be a foul, even though the hands are there?
Yeah, well, the only reason why it was a foul is because Wemby goes down. So if he just stayed there, then they probably wouldn't have.
But that doesn't really change what Drummond's doing. It's just changing what Wemby's doing.
Right. And that's part of the deal, right? Like, it's like when people want to argue about like illegal screens because the guy was like moving too much, but if there isn't really any contact, then you can't call it. Like, it's just not a foul. So
you're saying like the flop dictates the call.
You got to be dislodging. You got to be impeding. These ing words. It's like you got to be doing that stuff. And if it's not doing that, then there could be contact that doesn't rise to illegality yet, right?
Okay.
So that's why that would how it plays out, and which also helps the referee, figure out how to get these games to play without calling fouls every single time. But
right,
either way, so I thought for sure there would have been a trip or something, but no, Wemby just sort of decides to he's long, he's got lots of limbs, it's all moving around and whatever, and you can see he catches the edge or at the left foot here, just doesn't get off the ground enough, and then he's like almost rolling his ankle, and now he's trying to recover, and that's just on him really. So the referee I don't think she had a good enough angle on this, and so of course what do? They go to review it, which is good, they can, and they realize that it turns out Wemby is flopped. And that's a technical foul. By the way, if you go in the play-by-play on the NBA site, they miss this. Maxey shoots the technical free throw, but they don't put that in the play-by-play. It's very strange. This one isn't a great angle. I don't know if you can see much, but so like this is all sort of normal jockeying or whatever, and it's just he just tries to get his foot out of there and doesn't get it out clean, and then he goes to the ground. So it's a flop, and they get in with it. So okay. So that happens around 8:13 in the second quarter. So cut to the end of the second quarter a few minutes later, and now we've got Embiid going to the basket. So remember, tensions are high, right? So by the way, what I didn't show in there was that Drummond gets ejected, right? He goes into the locker room, and then they review it and they bring him back out. And again, like I said, Nick Nurse was angry and fuming. I don't know if he really got that out of his system yet, but he should have, because it was like, great, they got it right, good. Are you not as happy with that they got it right eventually, and that should just be let go?
Tell me more. What do you mean?
Like it's at once, like clearly the tensions did not dissipate enough after this,
right? Yeah,
and it should have, in my mind, it should have been like, thank you so much, awesome, you got it right, let's move on.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes easier said than done when it's an emotional game. Humans get upset, and I don't think you could just turn that off all the time.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I mean, I hear you. I hear it on all those fronts. It's important though from the top down, where the coaches go, they're like, okay, it's over, great, let's move on, let's get there. So now we have Embiid going, and Embiid, it's always a bit controversial with all of his plays, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
like it's hard.
It's like Shaq, right?
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah. And, although Shaq wouldn't be bringing the ball up in the full court, here and then just driving like this, but. So here's what happens. We have let's play it in real time so we can sort of see it. Boom. Now, was it a ton of contact? No. Does Wemby start to go down a little bit early, would you say?
Let's see. Yeah.
I mean, there's this weird where his butt goes back and his head snaps, his neck.
He's flopping again, for sure.
But you can't say there isn't contact. And the only problem is, I don't know if I got a better angle. I don't think I did. Let me see if they show a better angle, because they have all this stuff going on. No.
So what it is that they're already frustrated from previous plays, right?
Yeah.
They made the guy go in and out the game and bring him back out, and they're upset, and they feel like Wemby flopped here.
Yeah, I don't think he flopped. I think there's enough contact. I think there's
two things could be true. If you believe it's a foul or not, he could flop still.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's contact probably with the right arm in there as it swings through, Embiid starts to turn his body into like a bit of almost like a hip little check there, which definitely makes contact with the legs. So I don't think this is a flop necessarily. I think that there's contact, and I think that but the real question then is Wemby directly in his path?
I mean, I think Joel's trying to dip the shoulder and go by.
Yeah, is Wemby in his path when the contact
or spin.
Yeah. So the answer I had to say is yes. So he's in the legal guarding position.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can argue that. And I'm, you know what? Maybe if Chip is, you know what? I should see if Chip wants to join us real quick because we haven't had him on for a while. You want to?
Yeah, hit him up.
I was texting with him. He hasn't got back to me. He's been busy. He's in the middle of the season. All right. So, but you know, I'm sure Chip would say yes. He was in legal guarding position. There is contact, and it's a foul. You know what's amazing is that it happens to be the same ref. You know, sometimes this happens where the refs change positions, their lead, their slot, their trail all the time, right? And it's random at some point as it gets mixed up and the plays happen. But it's amazing that it's her call again. Like, you know, all the refs, of all the other 3 refs or 2 refs it could be, it's her again. So I'm sure that's another reason why it's like, there's another call, right, from the same ref. But it's a good call. This is a charge. Now, what happens after this is a problem because we see, you know, and again, we know it's because it's the same ref, right? This has got to be part of the agita that's going on. You know, he kind of runs up at her. Can't really do this, right? It's not really like the thing you're supposed to do. And it's clear like what they expect from, you know, when you are a player and they go over the rules and whatever. So, but, you know, she's pretty patient at this point, you know, with not really saying anything and not really interested in engaging because he's really angry, right? It's not a time where you're going to engage somebody when they're running up at you angrily. So, but, you know, we have to imagine this is all gesturing and it's all whatever. And Lowry gets it, right? He knows he's going to have to like, this is bad. So she gives him a T, right? Do you think that was warranted?
I think the T is okay. If I was Kyle, I would have grabbed him and got him out of there.
I don't know. Yeah, that was weird to me. Yeah. Lowry's like trying to talk to her, but
I would put him in a bear hug. But maybe he's honestly thought he didn't know what Joel would do to him if he put him in a bear hug. I got him out of there.
Lowry's a little bit more interested in talking to her. He should be talking only to Embiid and being like, "Stop, it's done, you got it, whatever," and the T, whatever. Now you can see the woman like this is menacing kind of stuff. He is a foot taller than her. He's in her face, in her space. I don't think that there's contact necessarily. There isn't. I have another angle, I think, but this is just beyond. You know, he's sort of out of control. He's dysregulated. Here's another angle of it where, you know, she doesn't have much choice at this point where he's run across the court at her in her space. And she's got to have to do that to try and dispel that. Because remember, technical fouls are supposed to kind of maybe like dispel this, right? Once you get it, the guy's like, okay, great, I got to stop because
why'd she throw that text so far out though?
What does that mean?
Go back to that. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, whatever.
I mean, it was kind of in his face a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I guess. I don't know. She looks down. She doesn't seem like she certainly doesn't want to engage and doesn't want to get any more and increase the anxiety. Now, at some point, I couldn't even see it. He gets a second technical foul because he's going crazy and he's ejected, right? And that was easy. The second one was easy too. So, you know, tensions are high. This game is insane. Which reminds me, I'm capturing it. Let me just do this and then. Okay. So. Let's just all right. So at that point, right, they get through the rest of the game. It's not bad. You know, they only have Paul George. And let me see. Did anyone do super chat with my own mess? No. They get to Paul George. You know, they have him. They have Maxey. Maxey goes off. They have to, you know, it's back and forth affair. And then I just figure we go through this because this is interesting. Remember we talked about, you know, why the ratings are down. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting debate because here's, you know, Philly is up by 1, 38 seconds left. And by the way, I think that the Spurs are kind of a poorly coached team.
Really?
I need to go through more. They've kind of avoided my eye for a little the last few weeks.
But they've been winning this year
compared to last year. Right? What's their record right now? What's the record?
I mean, they were in playoff contention for a while.
Yeah, I think 15 and 14. Like, yeah, they're like mediocre. They're like average. They're like whatever. And let's just say, you know, 500 in the West is pretty good. It's like
but the Spurs are supposed to be a rebuilding team.
Yeah, okay, but it's just like, you know, it's just like there's a mistake. There was mistakes down the stretch here that were just really bad. That I really didn't like. But let's get back to this. So it's a 1-point lead, and Philly has the ball out of bounds, and they just don't do anything. And, you know, and it wouldn't be different if Embiid was in, right? They would have done some other ISO, and they shoot this shot and it goes in. Now, exciting or like ugly offense, bad shot. He got it and he made it. What is this? What do you think?
Well, I think Steph Curry changed all of that, right? What's a good shot and what's a bad shot in the NBA?
Yeah.
Growing up, if it's like the early 2000s, the 90s. And if a player takes this shot, it's like if he makes it, great shot. But if he misses, I mean, a team wouldn't be happy. But also, I mean, there is 5 seconds on the shot clock, and he is their best closer at this point, right?
Right. Didn't have to be 5 seconds on the shot clock. I mean, they had 14. They could have done something, and I was expecting a little something with him and Paul George, whatever. But so I started. I didn't, obviously not knowing what happened. I was watching this, fresh. I'm like, oh, this is ugly. This is going to be a bad shot. And he made it. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and by the way, it was exciting. I was like, whoa, that was great. But I also wonder if this is sort of what's creeping in a little bit when people are looking at these games and wondering why the ratings are down and why they're not liking it, and the too many threes argument. It's possible. I don't know.
Well, how about even in, let's say, the 90s, and everybody does the we done with the 90s thing. It used to be give Jordan the ball and clear out.
Yeah, that's true. And Jordan would do some interesting footwork and whatever. I mean, was this interesting footwork? Let's see. The step back, right? So
and then even Kobe, and then I think it was that way with T-Mac, right? Even on his teams, just give your best player the ball.
Oh, you're right. So I suppose right. So that's not that different. What is different is it's off the dribble and from behind the three.
And how much of that is and how much of that is the evolution of the game, that players are just more skillful than ever before, and skill of development has changed.
So this one bothered me all to no end, because watch what happens here as they run. So they run us something. This is what was more interesting to me. All right, great. And now remember, they're down by they're down by 4. So you need a quick score, right? You got to attack right away, and they run something. This is great. This is not going to be an ISO, whatever. But watch this. Now, should I keep going?
Why you think Wemby should get the ball here?
Who has the ball right now? Chris Paul, the gold standard in point guard play, the guy who makes the right play every single time. And here they need him to make the right play. Look at this.
Yeah.
You don't need a 3 right now. You got 23 seconds left. You need a quick score, bottom line. And you have, the tallest guy calling for it, wide open. It would have been so easy to throw this pass. And instead he jacks up the bad 3 and they miss it and the game is over. That just drives me nuts. And it's Chris Paul? And I'm like, how is that possible? Now, listen, everybody makes mistakes, but usually he won't make that mistake that quickly, in that part of the game. So that was just made me crazy, because that extends the game. It gives you a chance to win. And I have a feeling we'll see a lot of that in this with the Spurs and decision making. And is Chris Paul now being infected? I don't know. But that was frustrating, especially when you watch a team like the Knicks, for instance, run their offense. It's really, it's a pleasure to watch them run their offense.
Yeah, anyway. No, I was thinking the same thing when I saw that play, that he definitely should have got it to Wemby. I would say overall, I think Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes has had a positive effect on this Spurs team. Yeah. And that's why they have a winning record at this point. Kind of how Dylan Brooks and Fred have that positive result with the Rockets, and that's why they're really good. But on that play, I agree that Wemby needs to get the ball there, because that's a bucket, right?
Yeah, and by the way, the other thing is they lost their coach, and they have a young guy who had to take over, right? So that's a tough situation to be in, and I hope that Pop is okay. I don't think he doesn't sound. I mean, I don't think he should come back anyway, right? He should just be thankful that he's alive, and no one's seen him. I don't know how bad the stroke was, but he, I think at some point it's time.
Well, how about bring him back? But shouldn't he do his farewell thing? Don't you think?
Oh, I mean, maybe. I don't know. We got to find out what he is. But at this point, if he wants, I don't. Honestly, I think life is too precious. He's coached for all those years. He's won all those titles. I just get nervous. It's like if you're in a certain situation health wise, it's not worth the risk, I don't think, at this point. So that's what makes me worried. By the way, we see this with it happened on the politics side too, where this woman has dementia and was in the home for 6 months, and no one told anybody. And and with Dianne Feinstein, who was a senator in California, they were wheeling her around the last 6 months of her life. It was so sad. She should have retired. They put somebody else in there in the interim. You know what I mean? That's what makes me frustrated. All these things that where for what are you getting out of that at this point? Now Pop deserves a farewell. So that's fine. But maybe they could do it in a way where he doesn't have to go back and sit in the bench and coach, but I don't know.
Yeah. Knowing Pop and how tough he is, I think he would want to not leave like this. Right.
Yeah. But again,
So
you got to have it's at some point the quality of life is important. It's not, I just don't think it's worth it no matter what.
I mean, also, I mean, this interim head coach is probably doing most of the work at this point. But it would be nice to see him back where the fans can kind of appreciate it and everybody knows it's his last time.
Yeah. Well, that will happen. I'm sure. He'll come back, they'll into the arena, But the question now is like, do you want to, is he going to coach again? I just don't. We don't know the severity either, anyway. But if it was minor, I would still say you should not go back and coach because the next one could be worse. You know what I mean? Like you're already in that situation, and he's. At some point when you get over 70, it's like hard to picture like, having the energy and being able to do that anyway, right? Maybe like give somebody else a chance as well. It could be part of it.
So what have you thought of the Knicks offense lately?
So, well, what's funny? I was going through a lot of their scores versus like the Raptors, and I'm trying to get into the game before that. First of all, they're running the 5 out. They're doing a lot of nice stuff up handoffs on the wing and then high post through Cat, right? It's beautiful. They're the number 1 still, probably. Let's just check real quick. Their offense.
I mean, Cat's playing at an MVP level, and he's having his best season in the NBA thus far in his career.
So they're second overall in the league in offensive rating. Although I thought
my thing was Coach Nick is that to get to number 1. All they have to do is step up the defense with perimeter players like OG, who's already playing great defense, Mikal Bridges. Defense will turn to offense, and they can get even better.
Right, because their defensive rating over the last 11 games, when they went 9-2, is 3rd in the league. They've really gotten better. So they're starting to figure some things out. There's some, wait, was I looking at the let me check their schedule. Because the thing that we have to talk about a lot when you're talking about the NBA is the schedule, the strength. Because a team like the Bucks can turn around their season, but they have a great stretch, an easy stretch of games for a long time. Whereas like when you're looking at like the Warriors, who are really struggling, they've had a gauntlet that they've had to go through in the period of 10, 12 games. So it's rough. It's really, really tough.
Do you think the Warriors make a huge? If you had to bet, you think the Warriors make a huge splashy move?
Well, they already did.
Schroeder's huge.
Well, I mean, it's a starter. And,
no, I mean, I think Schroeder will be great for for Like,
he looks better.
But I'm talking about like a Zach LaVine, a Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Even a Walker Kessler. Just
they need
a star. Yeah.
Like is Zach LaVine probably something they could use? Like maybe they need another scorer.
He's playing great, and he's doing it in the context of team basketball. If you watch the Bulls play. Yeah. I really think he could help a team, and I think he could win a championship this year on the right team.
I have no doubt that that a guy like him. Oh my God, I'm now making
Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine, thank you. Sorry, I was already picturing him in the offense, but I have no doubt Zach LaVine could thrive in a lot of motion offenses. Yeah, without question. But and then be able to turn it on when they need him because Steph, he's getting worn down. It's not his thing. He's at an age where, like, I don't know how well they can rely on him to create as much offense as he has to create every night. And we saw that the other night where
he's in the LeBron boat where on one given night he could be the best player in the NBA, but it's hard to keep that over the course of a regular season.
Absolutely. And the other problem the Warriors have really quickly is that their 3-point frequency has dropped down to like 10th in the league when they had touted wanting to, shoot a lot of threes. So they're not getting the advantage that they need, the competitive advantage using the 3-point shot as much as they should be. And that's a real problem too, which is just shot selection and shot generation. But either way, they're on the Warriors are, I don't want to say they're in trouble, but what the promising start is now no longer that way, and they're in the dog days here, and they got to figure something out quick.
And what, Kuminga's coming off the bench again?
Yeah, I think he's in and out. Yeah, I don't know how long he is for the Warriors. By the way,
he just said if somebody was in my position, they would quit basketball. That's an interesting quote.
Oh, you know what? I saw the IG where it was like a wave, or no, there was an emoji only. But I didn't see him say that. When did he say that?
Maybe I've been maybe I was misled, and maybe that's fake. But I did see it.
Okay. Wait. So you saw? He said what?
If I not verbatim, but if a lot of people were in my shoes, they would quit playing basketball.
Wow.
Let's see if somebody in the comment section. Let me know if that's real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't see it, but it's weird. I'm bouncing back between Blue Sky now and Twitter, so I don't always see
And
everything.
and shouts to Braun. He said happy holidays in the beginning. So happy holidays, Braun.
Oh, hey, Ron. Yes, happy holidays. And okay, cool. No super chats yet. Good. Yeah, it's the Warriors are in trouble and they need something. And I don't. And again, it's hard because it's like they already did a trade for Schroeder. We don't often see a trader for a starter in the middle of the year that much anymore. So they've already gotten one done. Are they going to be
some of those Mavs guys from last year were starting, right? Once they got traded.
Say it again.
So that big Mavs trade with
that was
yeah.
It happens a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, that was impactful for them too.
Yeah. Now, so here's the problem. It's like, and I don't blame, like, as a coach, it's frustrating to watch Kuminga. It really is.
Especially within the context of read and react Warriors basketball. But in another situation,
he makes some of the same mistakes in any offense. He makes confounding mistakes. It's like,
I think with like the Pistons, imagine him at the 3 with Cade and Jaden. I mean, he would be tough. He would be tough on that team. Because you need to be a certain type of player to fit within what the Warriors do. And that's why I actually think Schroeder is great for the Warriors, because he knows how to play read and react basketball. We've all seen FIBA Schroeder, like how he plays an international style play. And I feel like the Warriors have more of an international twist, read and react basketball, than, the rest of the league.
Okay, I guess, I don't know. I think it's also the mindset that Kuminga has. So he's like, I need to prove that I am a top scorer in this league, and I'm going to then just take shots no matter what. I don't know. I would like to see that. It sounds good to me, but I don't know. The mistakes I see him make. Yeah, if you think it's rooted in the fact that like he's trying to read and react more than you would in other offenses.
No, that's not what I said. I just don't think he's a read and react type player.
I guess. I don't know. I just feel like the things he'll do and the bad decisions he makes would happen no matter where.
I don't know. I think if the system was a little bit different, I think just different players fit. We've seen this over the course of time. Like when a player gets in a different system, they just look better.
Yeah.
Look at Cat this year. Different system.
Yeah, but Cat looked great, with Minnesota.
Never like this, Coach Nick.
Really?
Oh, yeah, never.
You think it's completely different? Because I feel like,
Oh, he's playing at an MVP level.
Yeah, but I mean, Cat had terrific seasons. He really scored. He was really good with Minnesota.
The passing seems to be unlocked in a way that it hasn't before. I think his numbers are even better.
Oh, I've done videos on Cat where we showed his passing in Minnesota. That was great. So I don't know about that.
I think it's been even better this year.
I mean, there's a usage difference without like playing alongside Ant, which makes sense. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know about that. But again, if you're trying to sell that Kuminga would be a lot better in a different system in the NBA, I might need to furlough that. I would not.
Let's look at a different player like Harden. Mm-hmm. He's better in a system where everything's revolved around him. Not saying Kuminga is Harden, but what I'm saying is when you put a star player or a potential star player in a certain system, it could make them look a lot better than what they show.
It could.
Than just like a piece of the system that's really revolved around Steph Curry and Dre at the end of the day.
But we've seen Harden do both. He's played within his system.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Kuminga, don't you think there's a place where Kuminga could thrive more than he does with the Warriors?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
No. Oh, so you don't think so?
No.
Okay.
I think he'd make the same mistakes. And I think it'd be really frustrating. Now, he needs to grow. He needs to get experience. He started playing basketball very late in his life, so that's all part of this thing. But what is this, his 4th year now? At some point, and that's the other, the question is, okay, like it's not his game, whatever, but you got to improve. You got to be able to show you can improve after this amount of time. Like he had pulled up for a 15, 14-foot jumper in the middle of an offense early and slammed off the backboard. And I was
he could also be. Like, if that quote is real or not, he could obviously be frustrated too, and that doesn't help your mind state.
Well, who's frustrated is Kerr. I mean, he came out after that game and didn't call anybody out by name, but was like, "This isn't working. You're not doing what we've been working with you for years." And I would have to imagine it's got to be Kuminga.
Let's say this: who's the 3-man on the Rockets?
Oh, Jamari is for
Dylan Brooks, probably.
Yeah, Brooks.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like Kuminga instead of Brooks on the Rockets. I mean, I love Dylan Brooks, but
right. Well, yeah, you wouldn't bring Schroeder to the Warriors because you already have Draymond. Schroeder is a little bit like Draymond, by the way, in that mindset. In that, you got to be careful when you have a couple of guys on your team that could, get into your teammates' face. Which, I think we talked about this before. There's a balance there, right, where you want to keep everybody focused and intense. But I worry about that with Schroeder. You want to bring Brooks into that mix, and they have 3. I don't think that would work at all.
And to where? What are you talking about?
Are you talking about making a trade for Kuminga to the Rockets?
Yeah, I'm saying, like, how would he look on the Rockets? It would look different than I think with the Warriors.
Right. I mean, I've just already gone past that and been like, okay, Brooks now with the Warriors is, but
no, I'm just saying, like, in a different situation when they're not playing Steph Curry centric basketball.
Yeah.
Kuminga, because like everything about the Warriors is to maximize what Steph Curry does, and then Steph Curry's movement maximizes what everybody else does.
Right. Yeah, so you got Şengün, you got Van Vliet. Where would he be on that team?
We'll have to see it. We'll have to see what develops when Kuminga plays for another team. But I mean,
he's the root of it too. It's possible that Kuminga sort of feels like he's a 1 or a 2 or a 1, or let's say 2.
But yeah, and we've seen star players go through this before, right? Where they are not in a system where T-Mac with the Raptors or whatever. Like, we've seen this before. You see what I'm saying? Like,
T-Mac with the Raptors, a young T-Mac, but when he's trying to be that guy and he wasn't yet.
Yeah, but who knows? He might have been that. He might have been that guy by then. Who knows? It was a situation.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen enough evidence from Kuminga yet, because we saw evidence from T-Mac. We saw.
Did we see any like 20-point games this year from him with the Warriors? Like, didn't he go on a little stretch there?
There's been, he's had a couple moments. So yeah, I'm just not sold, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I feel like I don't know. I would be pleasantly surprised. I'd be happy to see that. And there's no question like they're shopping him. It sounds like so.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's why they put him in the starting lineup. Definitely.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So there will be a trade. So stay tuned for that. It's just a question of what. And if they could pull off Zach LaVine, if they can replace Kuminga with LaVine, then wow, then that would be a terrific deal for the Warriors. I think, because again, it would give them a chance at least where they don't really have a chance. I think that's what's clear right now. There's no chance to go deep in the playoffs with this team, right?
So you think so? Yeah, Kuminga on the Bulls would be interesting.
Yeah, okay, and then there he could be. Then you run the risk of he's like a scorer on a bad team who's going to be
the good thing though. The good thing about the Bulls is they're actually playing like solid basketball. If you watch them play, I think they're like pretty good with how many assists they're getting per game. Zach LaVine's playing within the offense. He's not really jacking things up. Like, they're not a great team. They don't have, on paper, they're not good enough to be great, but they are playing some good basketball.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's get to some super chats. So we have Braun, restaurant the breakdown. Thank you so much, Braun. Merry Christmas. OKC just recorded their 10th game with 15 plus steals this season. No other team has more than 4. I'd love to see a video diving into their defense for sure. I got to get an OKC video out soon. Probably won't be, maybe before the end of the year. But yes, OKC's defense is fantastic. They have enough guys who are just tough. They're kind of mean, It's like when you have mean guys on defense, they probably are very nice off the court, I'm sure, but you can see it, and they have a chip on their shoulder, and it's great to see.
It's interesting that kind of everybody has gone off the OKC train because of one Bucks game in the NBA Cup. Everybody was so high on them, and they lost that one game, and now everybody's a little down on them.
Yeah, that was the video I was going to do. I had it all ready to go. I was going to do OKC. This is great. They won the Cup, and then they had a dud. And it happens, right? They've been playing so well. Eventually, after a 15-game great run, you might have a dud in there. And that's sort of what happened.
Maybe they needed that, though. Maybe that'll help them over the course of the season.
Right. Credit to the Bucks. The Bucks are the Bucks. But I remember thinking, it's like, well, is this the Bucks, or the Thunder just sort of like blah and didn't bring the energy and all that kind of stuff? It's interesting. I don't know. Did you watch that game?
Yeah. I mean, Giannis they almost seem like too big for OKC.
Yeah, I felt bad for I actually literally felt bad for OKC on defense because Giannis was just so dominating them. They had nothing to offer. They need so like the other Jay Will, like he's a big body. Like they need somebody like that who can kind of get in there.
And also Chet changes shots at the end of the day.
Right. And I said that Chet would also get bodied by Giannis, but the one thing I like about Chet is that he'll get knocked 4 feet out of the way, but then he'll like quickly jump in the air and like still block the shot.
He's good at that. He's good at that. Yeah.
That's what's great about Chet. But I got to tell you, I think that Chet is just frail. I don't think he's going to make it.
Okay.
right? I don't know if he's ever going to have a long enough stretch of health. I hate to say it, but we said that before he got to the NBA.
Yeah, he's been great in the NBA. I had him as most improved player this year, and he was playing really well before the injury. Before the season, I thought he might get that, but we'll see.
Yeah. And then we have DeAndre Morris. Thank you so much.
Thanks, DeAndre.
So really, really nice. Thanks for you. And Hanukkah, Christmas, all at the same time. It's rare that they line up like this. What an interesting time we're living in, right? Where we can just find hopefully enough of family time and love around us that can make us feel good if you're not feeling good. We got to get away from this narrative about the ratings and all that stuff. It's getting a little ugly. I think people are frustrated. And what we saw in Philly doesn't help that, the refereeing, every year it pops up. Oh, these are the terrible refs, whatever. These are the best refs we're going to see in the world. Maybe FIBA refs are better, but that's about it. They get an ungodly amount of calls correct when you go back frame by frame, which is not fair to humans to do. It really does frustrate me when you hear, some of the stuff. I'm going back and forth with somebody on Twitter right now about it, and they showed me this. They showed me another play where, I know he showed me a play the other day that was such a bad call, but guess what? They reversed it. I'm like, isn't that the point? That they reversed it? And no, like the anger is still there. It's stuck. We can't get over it. And they add it to their list, and that list just keeps getting longer, not shorter.
People are going to be angry if they're angry, right?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of anger.
DeAndre Morris sent us a super chat.
Yeah, another one. So thank you, DeAndre. Again, wow, really, really appreciate the generosity. Could Kuminga help the Lakers in a D'Lo deal? Now we're talking.
Well, does that help the Warriors in any way, though? Oh, because D'Lo's an expiring?
Yeah. Well, let me just tell you this. There's no way in hell that they would ever trade for D'Lo back. Remember, D'Lo played for the Warriors.
He was there. Actually, he was playing okay, though, right?
Trust me.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
Right. They would never make that deal. Now, if you want to put that away and let's do the hypothetical, would Kuminga help the Lakers? Like, let's say that he went, or I don't know, he went somewhere and they traded them to the Lakers. I don't know. That wouldn't happen. But, I mean, the Lakers they could use a little bit of that. I mean, the Lakers, the problem they have is that they have AD and LeBron. LeBron is past his prime far enough. And I think AD is, I don't know. I've always sort of worried about AD as a impactful player. I hate to say it that way because there are moments when he is.
Well, they won the championship, right?
They did, but we're not going to put an asterisk on that one, are we?
Do you want to? It's up to you.
I don't know if I'd be in the minority if I said we should put an asterisk. I think that there's a big push for that, right? Although we're far enough away from it, people forgot. But
how do you feel about LeBron saying that it had a different set of challenges?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's not lying, but I don't know. And then wait, okay, fine. His impact there was profound. They did it, whatever they wanted, great. But we're talking about this year. And I think those two guys, when you think about like what their stats are, what their their ability is, and for the Lakers to be struggling like the way they are now, I know there's other players on the team, but I think it's just sort of speaking volumes at this point about where they are in their careers. Where I don't know. I don't think Kuminga necessarily helps them. I don't know. What would the Lakers really need? What position do they need?
They definitely need a three, and a guy who gets up threes at volume, I think. And
because everyone seems like Trae Young is the guy that the point guard they need, right?
Well, then what's LeBron's role then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think LeBron would mind, giving it to him and letting him run more.
Yeah, kind of like the Kyrie thing.
Yeah, and balance it, or letting him run more than LeBron will do it, but not as much. I think LeBron needs a break as much as he can.
Are the Lakers good enough defensively to have Trae Young on the team?
No, because then you're putting even more pressure on AD, right? That's really, really tough. I'm kind of curious. Where are they right now? I have it here. Defensive rating. Let me just do the whole season real quick if it works. Sometimes when you do a season segment like 10 games on the stats.nba, and then you try and go back to all seasons, it doesn't do it, and then you get the false stuff. But here we go. Defensive rating, the Lakers are 21st. So, even what they're doing now, so that would be tough. And to throw Trae Young in that mix, who, it's not like they ISO him mercilessly all game long, whatever, but he's not necessarily a playmaker on that end. So now Kuminga makes defensive plays. and he's athletic like that.
But Zach LaVine would probably be better for the Lakers.
Who? Zach
LaVine, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that solves the Lakers. If we're talking about like title, right? They're not winning a title this year, no matter what they do, right?
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
I just don't see it now, unless they somehow take advantage of like OKC, like the lack of experience, even though they kind of already have it, but they and like if the Cavs made it, like I don't know, but if the Celtics, they're not going to beat the Celtics in the finals, and they're not going to beat. I can't believe them beating any of the top 2 or 3 teams in the West right now. The Lakers, I don't see that. Right?
I think that's fair.
I don't see them beating the Thunder. Now, interestingly enough, if you haven't noticed, like the Rockets and the Grizzlies are on the top of the West right now. Like this is a very strange, interesting time.
So you're saying that like maybe the Lakers could play against one of those teams that advance, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could see them on the experience side, like maybe being able to squeak by those 2 teams. Oh no, am I talking myself into actually having the Lakers get to the finals because of that? I can't see it, but I don't know. All right, let's get to, we have another super chat here from Corey. Thank you so much, Corey. Really, really appreciate it from Canada. Can the Knicks beat the Cavs or the Celtics in the playoffs? All right, so let's talk about this as we start to wrap up our show. What do you think? Can they beat the Cavs?
Yes.
Can they beat the Celtics?
If Porzingis is healthy, no.
Yeah, I would go with that. So you think that if Porzingis was not healthy, that they could beat him?
Yeah, I think they have a chance.
Now
Porzingis makes the Celtics truly unique.
Yes, they do. It's an advantage, and you'd have to just pick them. You'd be crazy to say that they have a chance, right? I mean, the Knicks have a chance, but a 20% chance of beating the Celtics with KP. Like they wouldn't beat them, I don't think. So that's a pretty reasonable take. But yeah, they could beat the Cavs. The Cavs can be beaten. And the Knicks do have guys that could handle like Donovan Mitchell. Like you could throw OG on Donovan Mitchell and make his life hell.
Yeah.
And then I still don't think that like offensively Mobley is quite, polished enough. He's gotten better and there's a bit of jump, but it's not enough to for a deep playoff run for them.
He's been really aggressive too. He's dunking a lot. He's been aggressive too, dunking a lot.
Yeah.
Throw people around.
There's still footwork, there's still touch, there's still issues. But if there's one thing he can do really well is that jump hook over the left shoulder. I mean, that he's clearly been working on that since high school, and he's really got that down. So that's a great go-to move for him. But the better teams can know how to take that stuff away. But I like the Cavaliers. They really have a good team. So it's a good question. They don't have the experience deep in the playoffs, so that's a big issue. But Mitchell does. Jared Allen does.
Yeah. Jared Allen.
We do have some people who do have some experience. It's interesting. I don't know, man. The Cavaliers are a wild card.
Yeah, and I think they have a chance to win the East because I remember the first 2 games against the Celtics. I mean, Darius Garland hasn't had a good game yet against them.
Yeah,
and they won one and they lost one.
Yeah, and it was, So the Cavs beat the Celtics. Let's move. Let's more for this question a little bit.
Now that's it. That's interesting. It's so tough though against the Celtics.
I'm kind of curious let's look at what the
Drew Holiday's not shooting it as well this year, by the way.
Right, he's been off. I want to see what the opponent's shooting. Let's see, how do the Cavs?
But then again, Coach Nick, Payton Pritchard has took a leap. So
let me just look if I can do it this way. Oh no, overall, let me go look general. So right now, the Cavaliers are, in terms of giving up in 3-point frequency. Where are they? Oh, hang on. Cleveland. Let me spell Cleveland properly. Cleveland is, in terms of giving up a lot of threes, they're the bottom of the league. They are limiting threes, which is a really good sign. And how do you do that? You don't help one pass away. You don't give up middle. Those are the things, the big ones. So they're not giving up a lot of threes, and the opponent's shooting is a little bit high against them. The Hawks lead the league in opponent shooting against at 38.2%. And then the Cavs are second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth.
That's seventh. Weird because the Hawks have some good defenders on their team.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Cavaliers are giving up the 7th highest 3-point percentage for the other team. But the good news for them is they're not giving up a lot of threes. So that's why it's not hurting them as much. So that's something to look at if you were going to do the fantasy or the betting or whatever that you would use in your calculations here. And then the head-to-head stuff. So I think that the Cavs could maybe give the Celtics a little bit of a run. Because remember, the one thing that we're not talking about is, when the threes are not falling, right, you can get into those ruts. Now, would they get into a rut that lasts more than like a game? That's an interesting question. Where the Celtics go cold for like 2 games, where the Cavs can steal one on the road and then win one at home and then have a commanding lead. Like, could they do that? Yeah, maybe.
Also, if Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland could get in a great rhythm, I think that's another. Yeah, I mean, as great as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are as defenders, I think they guard up maybe even better than they guard down. And these 2 guards are so dynamic, man.
Like, and don't forget, it's simply hard to repeat. You know, things just happen. Basketball gods, I don't know what you want to call it, but things happen, right? And it's hard, and you get exhausted, and you get distracted, and then you get stung by another team.
Who do you think would win OKC and Celtics in a 7-game series?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'd probably have to pick the Celtics. I don't know why. With Chet healthy, they have enough that they can match up with, like KP, right? KP and Chet. That would be an interesting matchup. I don't know. I can't picture them going at each other, but they must have at some point. Right? Remind me in the comments
I mean, Porzingis has missed so many games.
I know. What's Chet?
Yeah, that too.
So it's hard to know. I bet you if I did the stat head, I could see the head-to-head. But either way, it's not.
Porzingis was kind of like, he's the original unicorn. It's interesting.
Right. And that would be really awesome to see. I would love to see that matchup. Now, if you had OKC and the Celtics in the finals, you're talking about, I would imagine the ratings would be trouble.
That's a good question. Who's better right now in full health, Porzingis or Chet?
Ooh, I don't know. What do you think? That's a tough one.
I mean, we've seen like Porzingis dominate playoff games. Obviously over the course of a regular season, Chet's better.
Yeah, I mean, healthy wise, I don't know.
It's close.
Yeah, I maybe impact wise, you might have to go with KP.
Yeah, like just to swing a game, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. It's close. That's a really good question. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But and that would be a great matchup. I'd like to see it as a basketball person, but we'll find out if they can make it that far. And they both those teams probably should. They're the ones who are favored at this point, right? So I wouldn't be surprised. And it would be a good playoff, a good finals. Speaking of finals, I think that was our final point.
Sounds good.
All right, I got to hustle and get this other video done. Please come back and watch later on today this video on the Sixers and the Spurs insanity. It's insane
watch
ending.
The video
and everything.
Watch it twice. Watch it 3 times.
Embiid had 8 blocks or something crazy like that. Like he was just really impactful.
I wonder what his prime's going to look like. That's another video.
Yeah, that's another one. I owe him one. So all right. Well, Combo, have a really happy holiday stretch here. I suppose I'm gone out of town from Thursday to Monday. So I won't be able to do a show on Monday, but maybe we could do one, a week from today.
Yeah, let's do Tuesday.
What day is that? I don't know. What is time? Whatever. We'll figure it out. But stay tuned. Keep your eyes open. Keep your the notifications on, and we'll be back. But please have a happy, healthy, safe, holiday eve. And
that's New Year's Eve, I believe. So we could do that though early.
Yeah, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. We'll kind of nail it both eves.
Yeah,
okay,
sounds
great.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for being out there. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
Yes, sir.